Good morning, Tartaria hunters. Well, here we are for yet another amazing, unexpected, jam-packed powerhouse episode of Tartaria Australia with Autodidactic. This way, Cambell is in the house.
Hello.
We have got special guest Bobbie, the messenger, here today, who has her own YouTube station, and you can find her on, was it Codes to Another Reality? So what you just said to me?
My website's Codes to a new Reality.
Codes to a New Reality. So she's talking our language, people, talking our language. So before we press record, I just said to Bobbie, so how did you find Cambell and I today? And she's about to launch into this awesome esoteric answer. So I'm just going to hand it over and say, so Bobbie, how did you find Cambell and I today?
I'll start again. Yeah, so I woke up and I had this big download of who I was in a previous, what my soul lineage is, why I'm here. And I had been told by a Cherokee elder years and years ago, but I wanted to really feel into it and know who I am. So this had been going on for probably a year or two or so. And I finally got this aha moment this morning, which was a week ago. And I went, oh my God, I know who I am. I've resided for a very long time in the dimensions that you're talking about, in the Tartaria dimensions, and holding the codes. And then I come back now to share those codes with people and to wake them up and make them realize that there is this whole other dimension on Earth. And so I, of course, got excited about all of this, and it actually does go with the message from the Cherokee elder as well, although, you know, I did push that aside. I kind of, when I ask questions, I empty my cup completely. I just go, I don't know, because otherwise you've got preconceived ideas. So that's a great way of finding the truth, by the way. Anyone who wants to find the truth, empty your cup completely, your mind completely. So yeah,
wait,
and then I went online.
Like, when you say empty your cup completely, like, what does that, how does one empty their cup completely, especially now in these moments, in like very stressful moments? So how would you suggest people go about emptying their cup?
So you have to say to yourself, well, this is what I do. I kind of draw a blank canvas. So I've got all of who I am. And I say to myself, I am not an artist. I'm not a mother. I am not a singer-songwriter. I'm not a channeler. I'm not a seer. And I say all these things I am not. I just completely empty my cup. And I have this blank canvas and I recreate what I love. And then I say to myself, now here's the question. That's kind of how I do it. Or I just go, I don't know the answer completely 100%, so I'm not going to imagine that I do. That's just not in my reality at the moment. So, and then I ask the question, I pull the question in and I say, this is the question I want. Show me the answer, and I let go of how it's going to come to me. And it usually comes 3 or 4 times, like before I go, okay, now you got my attention. Because all my life, I've been very privileged to live on the edge of this reality and the next. So I've been visited by a lot of different beings, a lot of interdimensional beings, the elementals as well, and a lot. I have a lot of stories. You can go on my YouTube. I have got it all on my YouTube. There's like 6. I was going to do like a 2-hour story, ended up being 6 videos, 2 hours each or something. It was ridiculous, just kept going on because they told me to write everything down when these things were happening. So I have a mountain of stories to tell you. But in any case, going back to the story, so I actually woke up and I thought, oh my God, I know who I am now. I've been holding these codes in another dimension, specifically for this time now to come back when humanity is ready and really screaming out that they want out of this illusion of repeating over and over and over from the logical point of view, which was meant to happen, by the way. It was a big lesson, and humanity was supposed to learn that lesson to be able to understand how to create from the heart and the intuition in the end. But anyway, I woke up and I went, okay, I'm going to call up my two besties from America, from USA, and share my awesome feeling and my awesome story. So I'm talking to one of them, a lady called Holly, who lives on a
Holly
crystal
Berger.
mound. Huh?
Is it Holly Berger?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. She's just coming up in the ranks. So she lives on this crystal mound. Like they actually mine crystals underneath their house, kind of thing.
Wow.
And she finds them and she can talk to these crystals and stuff. And we were talking about stepping into the new earth and what it's like and what it looks like and how it's going to all be. And I'd already the week before had created a video saying I have been taken to the new earth, which I have, to the potential, to the higher frequency homes here on Earth itself. And so I'll actually show you that if you want. I can pull it up and play. It's only a few minutes long, but it will get you into a really good space of where you want to go.
Definitely.
And so yeah, I talked to them and talking about the crystals and all that sort of stuff and these new dimensions. And then after the talk, I clicked on the first thing that was on my Facebook, first thing that I saw, and here it was, your Tartaria crystal show. And I'm like, okay, that's just not, I've got to contact these people. So I contacted you and you're like, yes, let's do this. Like,
awesome.
Okay, do you know who I am? No, probably not. Let's do this.
Excellent. What a great chain of synchronicities.
Yeah. So what are these codes? Are we talking frequencies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they gave me a lot of information, and it actually started. This is one long story after another. I'm really sorry, guys. But it really started when I was asking for the potential of humankind, because I had been led to this Cherokee elder who lives in Ohio. She was sent by her elders to find specific souls that came from what she called Pleiades. But I know I'm more than that now. And she found it very hard to find what my soul lineage was and everything. So I ended up, I ended up searching for the potential of humanity, because she sat next to me and she held my hand and talked to me telepathically for over an hour. So I'm like, okay, if she's talking telepathically to me, and this is for real because I tested it, I said to her telepathically, ask me to follow you back to USA, which I knew she wouldn't normally do. And then after she stopped talking to me telepathically, she reached over and said to her husband, Tony, we want Bobbie to come back with us to USA. And I'm just like, what? She's like, it's magical, isn't it? So I'm like, holy crap, we have this potential. Oh my God, we can talk telepathically to each other. So I ended up putting out to the universe, what is humanity's potential? And I started getting this information about the imbalance within our minds and how our logical mind, our doer self, had taken over the intuitive, nurturing self side of ourselves, the imaginative side of ourselves. And it was all meant to happen, but that was the first key, because we need to find that balance within ourselves. We're warring within ourselves, which in reflection is warring outside of ourselves. So everybody outside of us is warring, because it's all coming from inside. There is only one reality in the end. It's yours. It's mine. It's whoever's is, and that's the point, the actual point. And that led me to the pineal gland. So, well, they led me to the pineal gland. And at that time, when I was searching up a few things about the pineal gland and how it's been crystallized over by the preservatives and the fluoride, because they don't want us to get into our intuition and our imagination, my daughter, who was only 4 years old at the time, just turned 4, came up to me and mentioned this name, Anyon. And I went, okay, that's an interesting name. And she pulled it out of the hat again a week later. And I went, I'm going to take notice if this word comes up again. She said, Mummy, we come from a place called Anyon. It's where everything is everything. But we live in our minds now, Mummy, but we also live in Anyon as well. You can look it up, but you have to thank me for this one. And
she's 4 years old.
Your daughter said that. Oh my God.
So I said to her, okay, I'll look it up and thank you very much. You know, and it was like she had reached into her higher self. She had pulled, like, I saw her when I was pregnant with her, standing beside my bed, giving me a gift. So because I see interdimensionally, and I can see the before born and the after death, I can see benevolent beings come and visit me. You name it, I've had it. I've had the most extraordinary life living on the edge of this reality. So I said to her, thank you. And I looked it up, and Anyon was, in quantum physics, a particle that resided in two-dimensional space, that resided in thermal or boson, which is light or material. So that was another clue to the pineal gland. And then they also gave me another clue of me falling in a dream so far. And they said, I am in everyone as I was falling. And then I saw this massive mandala that I fell through to come back to earth. And that mandala showed me that there's somatic patterns that these little crystals that reside in the pineal gland form. And those little crystals are microcrystals. It's kind of like if you've ever seen somatics where they throw sand on a plate and then they up the frequency. And then it chings into all these different beautiful patterns. That is what your pineal gland does, and why the Tibetans chant.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the crop
singing
circles,
and all that stuff.
Sorry,
And I actually saw one of those with water yesterday, which I'd never seen before. They had
they played through water.
It's amazing. And they had
cool,
the speaker up, and the water's going out, and these perfect.
Oh, that one where it comes out the tap.
Yeah, it comes out the tap, and it's stepping down in these patterns. Amazing. I haven't seen it with water. Tried to form
a DNA spiral, they're telling me. I mean, our channel as well. So if they tell me something, I'll tell you. But
I wonder if you had 2 frequencies going in, if you'd get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
It would.
Because Tartaria was all running off that same technology.
How much do you know? Have you looked into Tartaria much? Like, how much do you know about?
Honestly, I'd never even heard of the word until I saw you guys.
We'll have to show you some star forts. Like, we show everyone star forts.
Yeah, you love the star forts. Campbell's. I think you must have been one of the original architects of the star forts, Campbell.
Yeah, well, Bobbie has to tell me who I used to be. No one will tell me. Every time I try and get like a reading, people go, yeah, I'll give you, and then they disappear. Like, seriously, like, no one wants to read me. It's like,
you're in quarantine, buddy.
Look at you.
It's like Men in Black. Like, we've been blacked
Maybe
out.
I get a reading and then I go,
living in the void.
Actually, to be fair, the same is true of me. No one's really ever told me who I am or where I come from, or like same. It's like we're all.
I had to have a Cherokee elder tell me. And that's the only way that could happen, because she said that I was holding these codes.
So are you a gnome?
A gnome?
Oh, a gatekeeper.
Actually, my name was Alana Wananahi, and Alana Wa means turtle, where I carry the codes on the back of the turtle. I've been hiding with those codes forever. Over the last thousands of years. And Nanahi means fairy, but she came up to me and said, you're creator of the fairy world. So I'm a creator.
Do you know what? Remember the other day we had come up King of the Gnomes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we were trying to think what it was. King of the Fairies that it reminded me of.
King of Fairies.
Are you the King of the Fairies?
I'm more the queen, if anything.
Or the queen,
if anything. But I don't like to egotistical.
So the queen
Come
of
on,
the
the queen's
fairies.
the most powerful, we know that, in chess.
So, like, obviously with the Tartarian work, what sort of like sparked everyone's excitement about it is it's such a massive program buster. And once you understand that everything we've ever been told about history, and that has been a significant program and it's all a lie, then basically it's very easy to let go of everything else. And then once you've let go, so this is pretty much Tartaria forms an empty vessel, because then eventually you let go of all of everything about our current reality. And then we can start having conversations about fairies and gnomes and crystal cities in the desert. And like they don't retain their lofty attributes anymore. They just become the next firm, as realistic version of reality as the one we've just deprogrammed ourselves from. Once you realize that nothing we knew was real anyway, it's very easy then to go into things we've been taught are unreal and know them to be real. So it's
I can honestly say that I've seen the elementals, so they've come to me quite a few times.
Yeah.
And I've got some amazing stories with them. Finding luminescent mushrooms underneath my stairs as I'm walking up.
Wow.
That was really fun because I knew that I was going to see something. And
no shit.
Mushrooms. We keep getting all these links. We spoke to someone. God, when did we speak? Was it last week? Gnomes? Yeah, last week. And she was talking about gnomes, and now you're talking about gnomes and mushroom. We had the mushroom link.
Yeah.
And mushrooms and dwarves are gatekeepers, and Terence McKenna and his work, and he mentions dwarfs and mushrooms and all these kind of stuff. So we think we're onto something. So
well, the elementals are the in-betweeners. So they were created to guide humanity into these other alternate dimensions as well, because they are very closely linked to Gaia herself, to Mother Earth and all the plant life and the fauna and stuff like that.
So did they live in that realm? What did you call it that your daughter said?
Anyon.
Because are they literally like going between the ether and the solid? Is that sort of
they can go between.
Is that sort of what that is?
Yeah, what happened with me is I walked through a 1,000-year-old forest, and a person turned to me and said, "There's a porthole here." And once you believe something completely, you can experience it. So I just went, "Oh, there's a porthole here," and because I've already had a lot of interaction with different dimensional spaces. This was mainly as I woke up, to tell you the truth, in what they call twilight, where I'd wake up and see things and be talking to people, and even my partner my ex-husband and stuff that I was talking to while things were in front of me. But anyway, I was in this 1,000-year-old forest, and I thought, there's a porthole here. And what happened next was I looked down, and my next step was extremely slow motion, like watching a movie. So what happens is my mind, my frequency went really fast to be able to connect with that other frequency of the elementals. And then I saw a being in front of me to the left. And he saw that I saw him, and he's like, it was very shadowy though. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, he's seen me." He didn't say anything, but I could feel him. He was like in a bit of a panic that I saw him. And he shot behind a tree, and then he looks again. And then it was like watching a really crazy freaking sci-fi movie. And then elemental movie. And then this being just zipped from one tree to another, looking to see if I could still see him. And then I went back to normal again. So I know that in this higher frequency, when they first came to me, they were just like little lights, and they flew up to me as a light, but very quick. And I got a message that following weekend, "What you saw on Saturday was real." Well, I had a card reading as well, a psychic reading. So I'm like, "Oh, it's a psychic reading." And they put this little pain in my head, like a little pain I can still feel if I join my fingers together where that pain was behind my eye. And I'm like, it's not that. Okay, what else happened? I saw a light. Maybe it's a fairy. And then they just went, the pain was gone. And then I saw the fairies beside me when I woke up, coming in, passing my room, sliding door. The tree turned red, and I have a photograph of the painting that I drew the very next day. I've got all of these cool things. You
can share screen, no props.
Yeah. I'm just going to see if I can do this.
Can I ask, because like I recently last couple of days, because one of the things about Tartaria and its history is it's one of the features, one of the worst features is the genetic modification of humans with beasts and with birds and with fish and with bugs. And I read this whole article the other day about the fairy kingdom coming from this this genetic modification of humans with bugs, beetles, insects, basically. And when I read that, I went, actually, because you know all these tiny little skeletons have popped up all around the world. They've found these tiny little skeletons, perfect human skeletons. And then I was thinking, actually, you know what? There probably is definitely that genetic modification of humans with insects is absolutely what they would have done in the Great Reset, which caused God to reset the whole planet, basically. And that's where the whole DNA comes into the conversation and keeping that pure. But then I feel like it's a separate issue, the elemental realm. Like I feel like the fairies and the elementals and the elves and the pixies and that sort of energetic realm seems to be completely separate from and alongside the genetic modification that we see if you go back through the art in the Tartaria consciousness.
Yeah, because there is the natural creation of everything that's in harmony with God and the love of everything, because God is just love. God is everything. Every creation is God. So, but then there's that, and then there's the warped one coming from fear, control, so it depends where the energy started off from. But anything that is coming from fear and all that is still part of the creation, because God is everything, right? But it will always be self-consuming in the end, because nothing can reside in love, in what the real creation started from. And the real creation of everything is love. So I've had so many things happen to me. In the 28th of March, I experienced oneness. So I actually came in line with God itself, with myself as the creator of all. And that was an incredible experience of self-acceptance of everything. You've created everything in your reality. And you can't deny any of it anymore. And once you do that, you have to take responsibility for all that comes into your reality. It's really cool. But then you can also shift things.
Well, can I ask, just before you show us this thing, like, if we unpack some of the stuff to do with the Bible and the Tartarian reset, and one of the key features is the altercation of our DNA, like the altering of our DNA. And that came about with the breeding of humans with, we'll use the word gods or the Nephilim, or just a non-organic human consciousness, which formed another species, which we have put together with giants. And that giant then started devouring all that was food, and then eventually to the human being as food. So, and within that time frame, they did a lot of genetic modification of human and beasts. Like there's lots of illustrations of sort of, like monsters and just these.
But it all brought us to where we are now.
That's what sin means, right?
Because
sin.
Sin. It says that they sinned against the birds, the animals and the fish, and then it says we're born with what? Original sin.
Yes.
So, but that's just so that it will keep you in denial, so that you could go through the 1,000-year voyage that you just did of just logical left brain being in control.
I don't want to know.
Before that, we had the right brain in control. So we've had both sides of ourselves in control. Now it's our turn to bring them both together. Earth herself, Gaia herself, is amazing because she can hold such diversity, such diverse energy. So we, as a human that was starting off as ape man or whatever you want to call it, and then manipulated by, first of all, by the creators, the Lyrians and all the vegans and all the first ones of this reality, and then we've been manipulated by their more intuition and all the feminine stuff because they're creators, and then we were manipulated by, you know, the Anunnaki and the reptilians and all that sort of stuff. They're all the logical sort of things.
Yep.
And both stories had value in it. We can't deny our history and what's happened. God wanted it to happen because we wanted it to happen because we wanted to explore this amazing experience. But now we're coming to the point where we're realizing that when we find harmony within the two hemispheres, because the first split of love itself is in masculine and feminine,
Created polarization,
which is inside of our brains.
When 9 two eyes become one.
Yes, and the one is the pineal gland that then can start creating the reality that we really want to exist in. So this is a whole new reset. And I was showing when I went on this journey to God itself, I was showing that it was 28th of March 2020, Earth had just gone into this inside of sea. I'll have to pull up that one. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yep. Bring them up while you're speaking.
I'm gonna get back because there's just so much to share. Sorry. This is what I'm talking about. I saw this Taurus belt of our journey. So at the very beginning, we came out of it and up to halfway was all feminine.
Are we supposed to see a photo? Or we're still on the folders.
Can you see that photo?
No, just your folders still.
Yeah. Double click on the image you want to bring up.
It's up on mine.
Okay, yeah, so you might have to stop sharing and change. I'll get this
off. Oh, okay.
Because you might be on sharing the wrong page.
Share. Thank you for that.
That's not right.
We do this every show. There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so this is what I saw when I met oneness. So I had to purge everything of myself and completely support who I was, and within 24 hours. Now I have to admit, I did take some medicine for this. I've never taken medicine. I've never taken anything. And with all the beings that I've seen and all of that, but I said I wanted to meet oneness, and they said you're going to have to take something to meet oneness.
What did you take? Can we ask?
LSD. For just one. I only took one tab, and then that ended up taking me on this journey of purging everything. First of all, I was in the center of Earth, Gaia herself, as a pillar of light, and this is just before COVID was starting. So I was representing humanity, and then there was all these other pillars of light representing all the animals and plant lives and everything, part of who she is. It's like she was reevaluating herself. And she said, humanity is definitely coming through, but only if you do the work. You have to do the inner journey first to get to come into these new frequencies with me. So then I purged everything on myself, and it took me, it was quite a journey, an ordeal. And then I got to this point where it was just love. And I felt all these beings, all these people that were me, everyone on Earth was me. And the only way I could handle it was to become the observer of, and the observer of the planet, the observer of solar system, the observer of everything, the universe, and then it became the observer of all. So I became one with God, which is what I really wanted to experience. And in that place is such just pure, amazing acceptance of the creation that we are. It's just an incredible feeling. So this is what I saw. It was all lines, like lines of lives going around as a Taurus belt. And they showed me that we did this journey from the bottom around to the top here, to the midway section. I don't know if you can see where my mouse is going.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. And this midway section was, all of this was the feminine side of ourselves, the right hemisphere that we had learned from. And then through this area here was the story of changeover to the left hemisphere, which would have been the changeover from which has been persecuted. Anything female would have been, there, and or the logical side had its turn. And then they showed me the earth in itself had just entered here, the funnel, when the COVID came out, because now we were in direct reflection of who we are. So in direct reflection of who we are, the lockdown represents the lockdown of the right hemisphere, and that we had to go within ourselves to find ourselves. So we saw everything as a virus outside of ourselves. It was like we got to the point of almost consuming ourselves. And now we're just I believe that we hit this God frequency on the 20th of December 2020. 2020. It was 9 months. She said 9 months it would take for that birth to happen. And so what happened to me was I actually, to tell you the truth, I don't meditate. I do now, but until then I didn't. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I got to meditate. So I put this really cool music on, went outside on my veranda. And it was like this light shot through me, and I had already been trained to still my mind enough to have that light shoot through me, through to earth, and then it went around to New Zealand, where I come from. That's my hometown. And then it went around the world. It was like this light just shot from Uluru. Okay. Which is another story, because Uluru, I have been to Uluru with David Icke.
Oh, really?
Other friggin' story.
Wow.
I've had a most amazing life. So we're in the process now of learning right this moment. We're going to come out of this, and we're going to end up realizing that we can create our own reality. But the ones that don't will consume themselves.
Okay.
And
so I was going to ask, so this whole talk of the split, different people on different frequencies, you get that as well, that some will rise or go to the new earth, and some will, I don't know, go to where's best for them, shall we say?
Yeah. And I have been shown that in our reality and the higher frequencies, they'll be seen as almost like salamanders, the energy of salamanders, because they're like all of a sudden eating their young and doing all horrible things.
They change their sex,
and having things attacking them, and
they change their sex.
The start of evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they're all
energy.
Tri-gendered, aren't
so
they?
Nothing gets lost, and everything will come back to love in the end. Nothing gets lost. So
I agree. I know that what we're going through, on this ascension through to the new earth frequency band, whatever words we want to use for it, that journey is, as far as us taking that journey and going through that, to us, everyone's going to ascend. Like the whole world is on that journey with us. But to the ones who aren't on that journey with us, like they will actually just see an absence of us in their reality. But to us, we will see everyone having ascended at once. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how they can seem to be contradictory positions or contradictory experiences, but yet it all ends up being a journey of love for everyone, who is every consciousness that is here and ultimately everywhere, that there's nothing excluded from this experience. And I don't even know if what our realm actually is in relationship to there being other realms, or this is just one of many, or this is the whole realm, or where God stops and starts. I tripped myself out when I was about 24, and I smoked a really big joint, and I sat there in meditation for like 7 hours and like literally try to take my brain to the wall. I wanted to go to the edge of God. I wanted to go to where God's edge stopped, you know, like where's the parameter? What does it look like? Like what is it? What's past that? Is it even something my mind can even comprehend or imagine or make up? You know, I tripped myself fucking out on one joint, just like really trying to see the edge of God, the containment. And, you know, in that one, I remember it so clearly. I went through all the stages. I was on the turtle's back, and then I was, and then the turtle was in space, and the space became then Tauruses, and the Tauruses then became infinite in all directions. And it just kept going and going and going. And
wow, so similar to what I've seen.
Yeah.
I'll share you something that I drew. You'll go, oh, hang on, share screen again. I'm getting used to this. Sorry, guys.
No, go for it. We like
as quick
content.
as you can.
The viewers like content too. So show as much as you want while you're talking.
This is a drawing that
you're going to have to do it again.
Well, can you see that?
No, take it off. Start again.
Click it off and click on the photo again.
I swear
it's interesting
this time.
It's interesting that you're starting with the turtle, because obviously, you know, through Tartaria, we look at the artwork that sort of represents the flat earth and the firmament, and so often it's on the back of a fucking turtle. Isn't that true? You've seen heaps of those, Cambell, as well.
Yeah, turtles everywhere, especially in Native American. That's a big theme in the Americas for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a link to the patterns, like hexagons, aren't they?
Yeah, they actually
like
carry. This isn't going to work for me. So
it's sacred geometry as well.
Yep.
They actually have the 13 moon cycles on the pattern. So that's the natural cycle of Earth. So
it's like one with 12 around it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually have, I think it's 10, and then there's 3 in the middle.
Okay.
So there is 13, but it's kind of like that Taurus again, where you're doing this.
Oh, yeah. Right. I can see.
Yeah. They do hold codes as well. This is really annoying how you want to show something and it's not coming up.
Okay, so if you double click on the picture and bring the picture up first.
There it is.
I can see that. Yep, can see that.
You got it. Yeah. That's cute. I like it.
Cute.
Everyone we interview is a freaking artist these days. Tartarian Hunt is a fucking artist. I love that.
Everyone's an artist. I know.
Okay. Actually, before we go any further, I really would love to share with you this new future that we're going into.
The video?
It's a short video clip.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
Yeah. So let's see if I can do this right.
Third time was a winner.
Yeah, the turtles. So the turtle's a really interesting one, because there's also been some giant turtles turned to stone as well. We've got some evidence of turtles, giant turtles. And then in the Never-Ending Story, the wise one was the old turtle. The turtle comes out a lot in our movies and mythology. Definitely.
Yeah, there was a turtle in Dory or whatever. It's Nemo, wasn't there? It was a wise old turtle.
They're always wise. Yoda looks like a turtle.
Yeah, true.
He does. Speaks like a turtle. If you were to put voices to turtles, it would be Yoda's, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Turtle I am.
Yes. Turtle I am, not turtle.
Okay, I'll show you this.
Yeah, go for it. Let's see if it... Excellent.
A bit of promo.
That's all right. Promo away.
Always
the whole
good.
new earth is about forming community and connections. Shattered tree trunk. Oh, that looks beautiful. Love that image. Love that image. I love that.
Nice. It's
love it,
interesting with the
really.
imagery too, isn't it? Like a big part of our research in Tartaria is like all the fairy tales of the true history, and all the books that we get given are false. So it's interesting when people, you know, talk about these concepts, they always show those pictures. Always. It's always castles and princesses and wizards and things, and
floating castles and pirate ships in the sky, and like, because it's true, like we've been taught a false history paradigm, and it's brutal and awful, and all the fairy tales that we get taught as children and we get taught aren't real are actually the real history. Like, it's just so it makes, of course, Tartaria Australia is going to lead us through conversations about the elementals, fairies and gnomes and giants. Like, that's the truth. So
the only way, though, it was the only way to get logic to be in charge. And that had to happen so that we could learn the value of creating through our logical mind as well. So if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have a balance and an understanding of the whole of everything in this reality. We were meddling too much and not realizing what we were doing to the stability of everything. So we had to learn about the stability of everything. Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it. Have we graduated, though? Are we getting out of here?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be here.
You got expelled.
Unless we had graduated somewhat.
This is the graduation chapter of our history, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
We're all ready for a bit of a fucking
Could
party,
be the
man.
breakfast club, you know. We could all be locked in the library on the weekend for being naughty.
But we're all in lockdown anyway. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. You talked about the pineal gland, and there's talk about this solar flash, and we spoke to someone who said that might be like a DNA upgrade.
Yes,
because do you see that as a clearing for the pineal? Yeah,
they showed me. I said to them, "What is reality?" And they showed me just light, as in love. And then they said the only way we can show you is through kind of a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional way. But this is a little bit about how it goes. So if you're just a body lying down as light, and you wanted to explore a part of yourself, so you covered your leg over with a blanket, and they pinpricked all these little holes in that black blanket, and they said, if you look up, that's the stars. So if God itself and the light that it was and the being that it was wanted to shift anything, it would shift it through the central galaxy or the stars by sending new vibrations through to us on Earth. So Earth has been bombarded now with these new vibrational frequencies. And if you're not learning to live in the moment and trust again, if you're still coming from that logical side trying to control everything, then you just tumble in the sea. Yeah, you're fucked.
And it's hard to do that.
So the pineal gland is now first of all, the first wave would be to find balance within ourselves. We're in the middle of the fire at the moment. So we've gone through these elements. We've gone through, the tsunami whole crap and the earthquake crap. We've gone through earth, water. We're in the fire now. So the fire is a real cleansing of all of the crap that we thought we were, who we thought we identified ourselves as. And now we're coming up to realizing... that we are God in itself experiencing. Now, what do you want to create?
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, we've been going on a big trip about you got to bring in your imagination and nonsense. Like this is the time for making some shit up, and like understanding that we are the architects of the realm. We're the architects of the new earth. And if we don't step out of this thick sludge of the 3D left brain thinking, we got to get into that like creative, nonsensical, imaginative, child's play, make it up. We know, like the idea of the Christian city in the desert, like that's sparked so many people's attention, and it's basically what it's done is like shine this bright light out of our little podcast into the world, just simply because we're talking about concepts that just delight people's imagination. But we all know that it's actually viable, and that there's a comprehensive process right now. We can actually reach it in this very wobbly 3D, 5D, mandala-fied timeline
and 100%,
jumping.
I can tell you that it does exist. 100%.
All right, hit us. Go for it.
Tell us about the Christian city. Come on.
Yeah.
So they have taken me to the potential new earth, or I felt I was returning home. I literally felt like I was home.
Is that because we've already created, and it's actually us from the future coming back here from?
It already resides on Gaia herself. It already resides in specific places, but it's been hidden from the children, from what they call the children as humanity. It's been hidden from humanity
for 100 years now.
For thousands of years. And she sees us as like her neuron paths. And I actually just did another video of her channeling through me, saying that she's realized she needs to forgive us as well. It's all just, it goes together. There needs to be a forgiveness from her for us to be able to expand. She kind of put us in a lockdown because she became a fear of her own power, and she realized how powerful we were, that we are creators, and we could create even something, with her, create something even more amazing.
Are you seeing her as in the consciousness of the planet, of
Gaia?
realm?
Of Gaia herself, yeah.
So Gaia locked us down, or was that
there's different perceptions,
us being scared of ourselves and going, oh crap?
It's different perceptions of this story. So it could come from a perception of oneness. I can come from perception of Gaia, of Earth herself, perception of humanity and what we've gone through, perception of the Pleiadians and all of that, because I've had 4 different beings visit me and tell me their scenario of our history. So I can come from all these different perceptions.
You have to tell us now all of that. All 4 perspectives. We want to, why going, I know we're interrupting you. Shit. You've got too much. All right, you just finish what you're saying, and then you're going to have to go back and tell us the 4 different versions of history.
Hang on, what am I telling now?
You're telling us the concise history of the human race from day dot to now.
In summary of everything
what they had actually told me. Well, this is what I got, and I'm not saying that I know the whole FNAG, okay? Because
none of us.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and there's going to be all these different other beings interacting and weaving now of this story. You can't just go, "This is the story, Bobbie," and that's it. But from their point of view, first of all, I had the reptilians who came to me first because they wanted to actually attack me. But what happened was, because I know who I am, when I saw them approach me, they tried to, this is like a horror story. So they approached me, put their arm around me, tried to put some pills in my mouth. And I just knew that I was going to be okay. And this burst of light shot out of me. So we all have this within us to be able to shift us into these higher.
I've seen myself doing that. I have light coming out of my hands like a weapon. I've seen balls of light coming out of like my whole life as a child. I've seen that.
I'm still looking for my sword, man.
Even in the new earth, we have the ability to have these lines of light coming out and solidifying with our imagination to build buildings. But that's another story.
No, I totally concur. All right, yes.
Of course, I've seen that as well.
Sustainable building at its best.
So they attacked me so I could find my strengths. So their whole role in all of this was to teach us the logical side of ourselves, with the Anunnaki as well. At that point, they came in kind of together and we were supposed to be slaves to their race to mine gold, which is why we have such a fascination with gold and everything.
And were they here in the realm before we were? Because
if I really start from the beginning, it started off with the Lyrans, but I was kind of starting off with who came to me first. But the actual journey starts off with the Lyrans and the vegans, which are the first creators of this.
Did you say vegans?
Vegans.
I've always said vegans, but vegans.
Vegan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right.
No, I'm just saying because vegan, but that's obviously a race of or another.
I've always said vegas, but I know who you're talking about.
Lyrans and vegans.
So not people sitting around drinking.
No, but it's interesting that they've hijacked that terminology for that process. Yep.
Yeah, I'm certainly not perfect. I'm dyslexic. So.
No, we're pretty much all dyslexic. Actually, I was as a child as well. Most of us
We're taught to be dyslexic. I mean, look what we see when we look at history. It's completely wrong.
And it's like, like what is dyslexia? Like we look at pages and books when we're children and the words jump around. Like actually probably all that's happening is we're not programmed yet, and we're actually like seeing the true spells that are popping out of the fucking words.
It's in movies. It's in Disney movies. You see it when they look at spell books and all the words move around, and then they go, oh, that's what it's really saying.
Yeah, and when you're dyslexic, it's harder to program you, isn't it? Because you can't do rote learning.
Yes. Yeah. So, so they were the creators, and what they had done is created there's amazing things in this universe, but they got to a point where they kind of become very weak within their bodies. They created themselves out of themselves kind of thing. They even created what's called Dyson stars, which are like stars with you've got just one planet. Well, they have a whole ring around the star, which is just incredible creations. So they come to the top of their abilities. And in another dimension, the reptilians were the consumer race, and they came to the top. And this is the polarity of their ability and consume themselves to bits.
It's clearly who's running us,
But they also created amazing things. Like they have their own, way of doing things. But it is they still created, but they kept consuming as they created, kind of thing. And so Prime Creator decided to allow a porthole to go through from one dimension to the other, one frequency to the other, and the reptilians came into this universe. This is what I was told anyway. My story. Yeah. And then those beings came in and went, hey, we want a piece of what you got over there. And the Lyrans turned around and said, well, we don't know you. Reptilians went, well, that means that you don't trust us. And they blew up these planets. So when they blew up the planets, it scattered the Lyrans everywhere. And if you know anything about the extraterrestrials or the Lyrans, they seem to be in all sorts of different, there's like cat Lyrans, bird Lyrans, there's all sorts of different species of Lyrans, because they went out to find if they can breed more strength into themselves. Which
can I pause you for a second? So with the Tartarian consciousness, we have the premise that the earth is flat, and that we're on a flat realm basically with a firmament over us. And when we talk of planets and space, I guess our thoughts have gone through that they are representative of multi dimensions, of like, as opposed to these tangible planets that we've been shown in Hollywood movies, and that stars aren't these tangible suns that we've been seeing in Hollywood movies. They're in fact that we've got water above us and below us. Just chucking that in there. Okay.
Well, I was showing more of a chessboard where we have different dimensions.
Well, that would make sense. Yeah, that's what that would be.
But I'm not saying that we live on a chessboard. I'm saying
but
whatever we create within our minds is the existence of what happens. It doesn't matter if it's a ball or flat or whatever. It's what your perception is relevant to you and your growth of who you are and what you're creating in your world. And there is no wrong or right in what you decide is your reality. So I would never judge or anything.
Do you see this as like a projection? There's all this like simulation kind of talk. Do you see it as like a
holographic,
sort of computery simulation, if you know what I mean?
Only to the point where you can see it.
And you can
we have
change
computers. No, because we have computers, we can, see a computer and have more of an understanding.
Of
But there's
us
a lot more to it.
with them. Yeah, I know. Computers literally like the way that our
With the
mind
holograms
works,
and
isn't
stuff
it?
like that. But there's a lot more to it than that. Creation itself and God itself is a lot more than what a computer.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what I keep thinking. There's definitely like an intelligence, like an organic intelligence, if you want to say. Not
yeah,
it doesn't
and
feel
like the
a
deeper you go
synthetic
down that rabbit hole, the more you're going to understand and all of that as well.
So it's really interesting because like the more we go down through this stuff, like the less physical everything becomes. So it's sort of like we start to look at it being like holographic, and then we like a simulation, and then a projection, and like multi-dimensional, and time doesn't exist, everything's happening now. And it's like that solidity that we've been taught, that we're on this solid earth and these solid bookshelves beside me, is actually like the more we know, less and less and less solid. So so
that's
I get
true, but there's also, we can't forget that everything there is solid, and there is programs within the nature of everything for us to experience solidness, so that we don't just be energy floating around not having an experience. And God itself wanted to have the solid experience, which is just as important. And what the lesson we just gone through, we can't just turn around and go and ignore the lesson that we just had and pretend that solidness doesn't exist either, because the whole journey is both together, and you learning to use both together, to create the next scenario.
It's just another aspect of ourselves, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So okay, we'll go back to the story of the
Lyrians. Yes.
So they went out and I kind of get a little bit mixed up with this, but I think that they found Earth, and they infused their DNA into human, and to create a human kind of a figure, or a different being on Earth that was our predecessor. And they then left Earth with the humanity with Pleiadians, because they wanted us to be learning all about all of that right hemisphere side. So that's where that right hemisphere side comes in, the intuition and working with Gaia herself and becoming. This is the kind of overall story. I think I'm not like Matthias Stefano, who knows.
We're taking notes.
More.
So
I actually have the same palm line as him, but I don't know everything that he knows in that story. So Matthias Stefano, his name? Is this
never
guy
know how to pronounce his first name. Yes,
I've only seen a couple of his things.
We'll probably get an email tomorrow, Cal. Don't
worry. He remembers past lives and all of this information, so he knows a lot more than what I would. But this is just the beings that came to me. So they said that Pleiadians were left with humanity to learn all of that, kind of like second cousins and stuff, which is where the Buffalo Heart woman came into the story and all that. There was a war that happened because humanity started meddling with different frequencies, and it was mucking everything up. And it was kind of like we were babies with matches, like baby gods with matches, we just started mucking it up. So all of the creators kind of pulled together and went, well, how are we going to do this? And then they said, okay, well, we'll put them in lockdown, from their right hemisphere, and allow them to learn all about their left. And that's when the war of the Anunnaki and the Reptilians kind of won that war. The Anunnaki know that we're on an evolutional thing. They came and visited me as well, and that's a cool story. But when they visited me, they were really wanting to tell me that they know we're on an evolutional path. They're not here to stop that evolution of where we're going. The Reptilians, on the other hand, who have been in control of everything for so long, don't want to let go of that group. But I also have know that they have a black box that they've looked into, and no matter which way they go, they don't win. So
yeah.
they're
Project
trying
Looking
everything
Glass.
they
Yeah.
can to try to, take as many people down as possible, but it's not going to end up that way, because that's not what Prime Creator wants, and that's not the energy of the earth. So they can't keep holding up their energy winning when Prime Creator is given a completely different
Too
energy
much,
on
yeah.
Earth.
And
So,
so,
who are the Anunnaki? Like, who do you see them as?
The Anunnaki, the Reptilians kind of code with them for a while. And then they came to Earth. They were actually friends with the Lyrians for a while, the Anunnaki as well. So you even get on the Egyptian temples, they were friends too. But then there was wars and there's all sorts. It's just the same as humanity and all the hoo-ha going backwards and forwards with the story.
So they're like a reptile hybrid.
No, the Anunnaki are the giants.
Oh, they
So
are the
they're
giants. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
well, that's
So-
interesting.
They came.
Well, the some of the creation myths I've heard about the Anunnaki is obviously the leader of the Anunnaki is called Anu, and his two sons are Enki and Enlil, which feature a lot in our mythology.
And the Greek mythology with all the gods and that came after, with half human, half them, half giants. And you still see the giants and some of the humans that are born now. Yeah.
And didn't they come here originally to mine for gold? That's the story that I heard. And they were creating, basically, they created a slave race to mine.
They brought the Agigi with them, didn't they? And the Agigi revolted, and then they got us.
But they also brought in things like agriculture and language, because telepathy, the universal language of telepathy went down. So they brought in all the things that made it social standings and all that sort of stuff, farming. They taught us all of that so that we could still operate with our intuitive, imaginative side locked down. It's kind of like we're like a beetle that had our one wing put to sleep. So what happens
in circles?
What happens when a beetle's got one wing going to sleep? It just goes round and round and round in circles. This is what humanity has been doing, a huge maze of just going around and round in circles. And we've come to the point where you're chasing your tail and you feel like you're never going to be able to get out of the same story, repeating life after life after life.
After life after life.
So we're here now to shift you guys and, ones that are understanding, light workers that are understanding, and we're here now to shift us the out of that maze, out of that caught up scenario of just going around in circles. So we would have probably had a crappy life because we would have come from a very high perspective and fallen very low very fast, and been born into a family and things that everything's gone a little chaotic for us. But to us, it feels absolutely doomsday, so that we could find our way back out again. And now that we're in this point of evolution, we're finding our way back out through our inner work and our shadow work. And now we can teach the others how to do that as well.
So let me tie that back into, around 350 years ago in the history that we pieced together, there was a great reset, and that was basically the great flood. I think was the 350 year ago event, and they've added 1,000 years of false history to our timeline. And that 350 years ago, that was the Tartarian. When we say Tartaria, that's just an umbrella term, a general terminology for this consciousness. So there was a race of people called the Tartars and the Tartarians, but we're just generically calling it that, representing these beautiful old buildings, this beautiful old culture, this high-vibing, cymatic culture, beautiful symmetry, amazing symmetry, use of water in the ether, and totally high-vibing healing, very little use of food and that sort of needs. So 350 years ago, somewhere
I don't do the timeline. I do the energy line. If we do the timeline, I go into thousands of years, of evolutions. But it doesn't even matter. It's more of an energy line. It's more of where is humanity in the point of back then to now, time doesn't even exist. And if you go into those other frequencies, there is no time. There's only divine timing. There's only divine timing. And divine timing means you have now got to a certain level of frequency where the synchronicity brings you in line with the next thing of your step of evolution. So I don't do the timing thing.
I like that. I like there's no time, only divine time. I always have to say every show, fuck time, because it is, obviously this Tartarian journey is a debunk of history. So we are in essence, in essence, you feel like by the nature of what we're doing that we're stepping back in time to try to uncover it. So, but then we've got to just remember, fuck time, it doesn't exist. And there's only divine timing. I love that. There's only divine timing. So, but the point I wanted to say was like, at some point recently, there was a really high vibing right brain, left brain balance civilization that was generating a very high frequency, which we see evidence of in this beautiful architecture around us. So there must have been a time of humanity before now where we were higher than we were. There must. It's not.
It was more of we were using our intuition and our imagination to learn all about that, is what I see anyway. So and that when we were with the Palladians and we were vibing with Earth and we understood that we're connected to Earth and that oneness, because the right brain is the only brain, the left side doesn't even know what God exists. It can only feed through. So there's this doctor called Dr. Ramachandran. He actually did this experiment on a person that had a brain that was already severed, didn't have the corpus callosum in the middle of it. So he could talk to one side of it and the other side of it. And he asked the same question, does God exist to both sides of the hemisphere? Left brain goes, no, absolutely not. Right brain goes, yes. So the left brain can only understand this material plane. The right brain can understand the etheric consciousness of us connected to oneness, Gaia herself and everything. And so it is the imagination that shifts us. He also found that people who had strokes on the left side of the hemisphere, if they had stroke on the right side of the hemisphere, which is the imaginative, intuitive side, they only had the left hemisphere left, that they couldn't shift their story. So they thought that before their stroke, that their arm, which is now paralyzed, was somebody else's arm. It's not their arm because their left hemisphere is the only thing that's moving and it has no imagination to be able to imagine itself out of the story. So I love
that. Yes, so that makes so much sense.
So this is the information they kept leading me to have an understanding of what our brain actually does, so that we can realize that we've got to find this balance within, and you're not going to turn around and just kill off the left side of our brain. we want to expand. We want to weave these things together,
Our left brain's on steroids right now. Our fucking left brain, we're at the end of taking hardcore steroids there. And it's so that brings a whole new understanding of when we say history, and Campbell, you're always saying it's his story, it's not his story, but literally his story is in left side story. It's a left side story, and you can't shift out of that left side story until you step into that right side story, which is her story, if we were just to parallel his to her. So yeah, we are moving into her story because we know that imagination, intuition, innocence, that's founded in the feminine aspect of us, the yin aspect of us, that energetic there is from the her story of his story. But I love the idea that we're stuck in a loop. We are literally stuck in a loop of a story. So maybe that's why when we say this consciousness with Tartaria is so profound, because it actually breaks down his story so powerfully. We think we're breaking down history, but we're literally breaking down the left side version of the story and moving into the right side version of the story, which is the rewriting the new her story of the new earth.
I'm offended.
Witches go out.
But it's finding that balance. It's finding that balance and bringing it together, because once you get a balance, you've got your DNA spiral working in perfect harmony, and there's no warped. I mean, even the matter that he's just brought out, that matter is a warped.
It's
warped,
infinity,
it's and they know that. They know what's going on. They've actually matched very cleverly all the new energies that are coming in. So when we had the new energy of telepathy being able to be introduced to us 100 years ago, the telephones, they introduced telephones, and the internet. Yeah. And now they're bringing in one world order, because we're starting to connect to oneness. And now they're bringing in the matter, and the matter is bringing you into a delusional story, because we're starting to open up portholes into new creations on Earth, Gaia herself. And they're telling me, like, as I'm channeling, they're telling me the pineal gland, the more people that open their pineal gland and start working with this, the more portholes on Mother Earth and Gaia will start to appear for you to be able to step into, because it goes both ways. We are the neuron paths, so to speak, of Mother Earth herself. So when we start igniting, so does she. And it becomes, sameness. So we can start walking into these different frequencies that hold whole other realities.
Love that.
Interesting how they invert it, like meta backwards is atom or atom, maybe, who knows, but they love to reverse everything, don't they?
And we've got 5D with the introduction of 5G. Didn't that come out?
It's all mirrored. It's
all mirrored, and they had to do that because to hold us in a lockdown kind of scenario is to introduce something outside of ourselves so they can still control it. But if we come from the inner self, then they can't control that. So they're trying really hard to match all the frequencies that are coming to Earth at the moment that are awakening us.
And they're getting all the left brain people who can't make that connection. And we see them, right? You try and give them new information and they literally lose their mind because they can't jump across from the story they're given, as to possibility. And then everyone's just following this script at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, but then you have to also remember that we're the first ones as light workers to really, really get this. And we came straight from higher frequencies and planes, or we're very evolved humans. And so we are the ones that are going to help all the others. They've gone through, you could say hundreds, I could say thousands of years of divine timing, whatever you want to call it. They've gone through a lot of life after life after life of repeating the same crap. And so for them to move out of this means that they will have to see something in concrete evidence, and we are the ones to step into that concrete evidence of leading
the way showers.
We're the way showers. So if we start pushing, our negativity out onto them that they're useless and they're asleep, well, that's where they're going to stay. Our whole point is to start saying they're waking up, they're starting to come out of their shell, they're going to get it, it's going to work, because then that reflection, we're prime created with God, we have to have that reflection out to them. Otherwise, if you're angry with somebody and they've done something hard and horrible to you, and you're sending them out, and I know this is one of my hardest lessons, you send out something, I hate you, why can't you do rah, 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 you're not a nice person, you're never going to get it, rah, rah, rah. What are you doing? You're actually creating their reality to solidify that even more. So they become that.
Yeah, I agree.
Say that. So we've got to now start to.
It's like an S4 voodoo doll.
There's so much of that going on, and everyone kind of thinks they're doing the right thing by sharing the story we've already got. It's like, no, they don't get it. Like, there's just this constant, this is a story. But I don't watch TV. But here's 4 bad stories of today. It's like, guys, focus on what you want. That's their story. Let's go and write another one over
Yeah.
there, right? Let's,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
authority, right? They're the authors, author of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
well,
let's break out of jail.
they're only one part, like they're God in itself and prime creator as themselves. But are you going to gift your divinity, your reality as being prime creator to somebody else
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
telling you what to
exactly.
do? You're going to allow someone else's reality who doesn't even know you from a bar of soap what your life's going to be like and who you're going to and what you're going to inject into you, what you're going to do to your body. Are you going to allow them to do that to you? It's time to take the reins and take responsibility for where you're going in your life. Your imagination is a never-ending story of unlimited list of where you want to go. Where do you want to go? You could stay in, do the housewife thing and be the mum at home, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong, because everything is a beautiful story for prime creator to move through. So it's just as important to be a garbage disposal man and really love what you're doing, but love what you're freaking doing.
Yeah.
No one fucking loves that. Were we ever meant to be garbage men? No one loves being the garbage man. They're doing it. If 90%, if we were all offered sovereignty and freedom and didn't have to be enslaved by the money situation, most people would not be working the jobs they're working. Like,
there are people out there that are going to turn around and say, but I love my job. And you know what? Stay with
Yeah, exactly. Best, yeah. They should. They're the ones that ended up where they should be, obviously. The rest of us are confused.
Do you think that the apple juice has impacted people's left, right brain natural evolutionary process that we're working through right now? Do you think there's an issue there? Apart from just giving up your sovereignty, is there actually a DNA issue? Yeah.
DNA,
controversial.
From what perspective I'm coming from again. So if I'm coming from a humanity perspective, yes, it's probably going to chew at your immune system so that you're reliant on major pharmaceutical companies, so because they want you to be reliant on what they're offering. But if you're coming from a oneness point of view, everything can be shifted. Anything can be shifted. There is no stuckness in oneness. It's just love. And if you really desired to get out of that, your body has the ability to heal amazing things. There's a lady called, far out, can't remember her name, but she had like 5 lemon-sized tumors, cancerous tumors in her body. She was on death's bed. Her body had swollen up. She had gone Morinati, they're telling me, something like that. She'd gone into a hospital, death's bed. She was dying. She's virtually dead. She left her body. She became one with everything. And she realized that she had not allowed herself to be magnificent while being a human. And so when she came back, she saw what the doctors were saying. She saw everything from that perspective, a higher perspective. So when she came back into her body, she ended up realizing that she was magnificent, and she healed herself like that. So fast that the doctors are just chucking we can't understand this, we're chucking your stuff, go
away, we don't want to talk to you.
It does not make sense, does not comprehend. So
there's so many stories like that as well, and just the placebo effect like proves that on a physical level, right?
Yeah, and we've got to put that out there, that there is always a way out of this stuff, because if we put it out that everyone who takes an injection is doomed, hello, we're the light workers. They are, because everyone's doomed. So we've got to start realizing there's different perspectives. Definitely, I'm not going to ever take it. Definitely, why would I put myself and my body through that much healing? And that's what they're doing, is putting themselves through a lot of healing and a lot of self-reflection. But I've already done all that work. I did that shadow work. I don't need to be taking somebody else's reality and infusing it into mine.
I mean, there is an issue of DNA recoding, and there is an issue of sovereignty in that process as well, as an understanding and a choice. But like, okay, so let's get off the apple
prepping you
juice.
for that microchip, by the way. That's what they're doing, is prepping you for that, because then they have ownership once that happens. But I mean,
is that to do with ownership, do you think, as well, and them being the creator?
Yeah,
you know, the
they want to
creator?
play. They're playing God.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Play the role of creator, prime creator.
But their creation is crap.
They are prime creator, but
but
so is everybody else. Everything.
Where do you place the Bible in all of this?
There's definitely some. I think every religion holds some truths. And a lot of it's been mixed up, and a lot of it is been
taken out, censored,
been warped, and that. But there's definitely truths if you can find them. I mean, it does talk about, what is it, the mark of the beast and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's
it's very accurate right now. It's very accurate.
The forehead and the wrist, which is where they're thinking of implanting these things. It's definitely got its truths, but it's also, I mean, there's Goliath. You know, he was one of the Anunnaki.
Yeah. There's the
got out of
Nephilim,
control.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, every species out there has good and bad within it, just as we do, because we're in a polarity universe. That's what we've created. So it just depends on where do you want to go. I mean, I certainly know where I want to go. I want to go.
I mean, that's a big question, you know, were the giants good or bad, and who were they? Because we've got all these giant buildings with giant doorways, clearly made for people bigger than us. And then we've got the photos, and these are like anatomical humans. They're just bigger, like they're clearly just big versions of us.
Giant skeletons.
But then we have these other giants, and we have ones with double rows of teeth and
cannibal
ones
giants
that are eating people, and all these stories of them being evil. So,
and then we've got the giant trees.
And there is good and bad and everything, you know.
So do you think that's like that they were just the bad human giants, basically, not a different
if they've got out of control within themselves and gone into a power game and an egotistical power game, just like humanity, some of humanity has, that's what will happen. You'll end up becoming that oppressing.
Is it just a metaphor for not physical size, but people who get
there was definitely
as well, like we've got now, all these families, they're too big, you know. They got too much control. I don't know, is that a part of it?
But they are a race, and they've as far as I know, they are a race, because they, like, that story was cool. I actually woke up and saw a UFO outside my window. It was an orange one, but it was like a ball of light that had like the UFO ring around it. And then someone else in the next morning said, did anyone else see the UFO last night that was in my town? The orange one. And I'm like, well, I did.
Go and see Bobbie.
I had already go back quite a few, like a decade ago. I had woke up and saw a vision of my whole window imploding inwards. It's massive, loud bang, and these 4 white horses with angelic angels riding on their back, flying around. Wow. And I sat up and said something subliminally. Didn't even know my ex at the time, my husband at the time, had to tell me. And I said, they're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one. And so fast forward to 10 years, I see this orange UFO outside my bedroom window. And then the very following night, and I had so many synchronicities of 444 everywhere. It was crazy. Then on my phone, they have arrived. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And I woke up and saw these 4 huge beings. I had a very old house that had like 12-foot ceilings. So they were at least, I would say, 9-10 feet tall, that was standing, and I'm sure they shrunk themselves as etherically to stand in my bedroom but they were caped. I didn't see their face, but I saw their hair was like black, curly, long hair. And if you see on the Egyptian, I noticed later on the Egyptian tombs that they had wavy kind of a hair. They actually tested me out because I normally would flick on my light because I'm in alpha state of mind or even theta state of mind when I see these things, when they come to me. To flick on the light brings me back into my beta state, which, you know, that you're not in that state of mind to be able to see them anymore. I don't know, or they were there, I'm not sure. It's a difficult one for me to tell you. But I sat up and thought, I didn't even think about it. It's like they blocked me from my side lamp, and I had to go through them to the light on the other side on the wall to be able to flick that on to. So I'm like standing up going, excuse me, through these powerful, powerful, powerful beings to get to the light on the other side. It was like a test. And they started taking me to their ship after that, but I can't remember what happened there, but I would wake up, you know how you can't move, and I hated that feeling. So I asked them what's going on, and they were like downloading stuff for future reference of explanation of who they are and stuff like that, and more, I'm sure. I'll show you the drawing that I did straight after. You will love this one. So I think it's under so that's, and
no, you got to do it again.
Do it again.
Can you see it? No. That's so annoying.
So do you get messages of everyone saying there's ships coming to pick people up? Have you had anything like that?
Sorry?
All these people, like, you know, channelers and people like this have suddenly in the last month saying that they're getting messages that there's ships coming to pick people up and take them away.
Yeah.
I've not had anything yet because I'm just doing my own work. All I've had at the moment is that we've got to keep doing this work while we're here at the moment. That's what I'm getting. Just keep doing the work.
Yeah, I know, but
the
can't
cool
we get
thing
there
is,
already?
the cool thing is, gifts. But the cool thing is, because we're starting to resonate in higher frequencies, we will be rewarded. So gifts will start coming. We'll start becoming more aligned with our own abundance.
Yeah,
and
we want to talk about that too. Show us a picture first, or else we'll be.
Did you see it?
This. No.
Okay,
we're still on your page with lots of pictures.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's just not coming up very easily, is it? I know what I'll do. I think I'm doing it the wrong way around. I think I have
if
to.
If you click on the picture
there.
and then when it comes up, then you click on that and share that one. Otherwise, it thinks it's.
And then before we run out of time, we've got to get to the Crystal City in the desert.
Yeah. That too.
So can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So straight after that, like a week after this, I had a huge fog come over. We went outside under the stars and this fog came down, and it ended up being an absolute rectangle in the sky. Like you could see both ends of it chopped off. It was a massive ship, and it was just hanging there in the sky, and it was huge, and it ended up tapering off into a comet as well. And the comet Ison was going around as well, but that wasn't a comet, that was a ship that I saw. Someone took a photograph and published that.
So explain this to us, this drawing. So what are we looking at here?
So this is what I ended up channeling through straight after I saw the Anunnaki and their ship that came through.
Oh, that's their ship.
So see the fire?
Yeah.
This is what we're going through right now. And the two polarities of our hemispheres, information. We've got this information coming to us to be able to unite the polarities of black and white. A new atom. So they're kind of in me at the moment and explaining there's this new atom, new DNA. There's a collaboration also. They keep bringing up this when we connect with somebody that is of our frequency, it's like two circles like that. So you have this bit in the middle that you're connected to, but you have your own identity over here that's
the
not
Vesica
there.
Pisces.
Now, when we connect more and more of them, we've become the tree of life, and the tree of life, and then the medulla, the flower of life.
Flower of life,
we
yeah.
start being able to create whatever we want when we start connecting like that in our tribes.
That's why community is so important right now.
So
yeah,
is it the Vesica, like, you know, the Vesica Pisces? We always see Jesus and that coming out of the Vesica Pisces, which is that like a vertical eye sort of shape when, you know, you cross two circles, and the bit where they cross is the Vesica Pisces.
Ah.
Yeah,
So
you would definitely
is that
know
what
it
we're
when you
talking?
saw
So
it.
it's like a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's sort of like half and half, you know, combination of both the circles.
Yeah.
So
Because it definitely,
how important that is. And what happens is when you have one circle at the one end of the flower of life and another circle at the other, they won't even understand. They don't even have to understand. But there has to be an acceptance of each other being part of that. We're supposed to be part of this whole. To create, and so that their reality is very necessary just as much as your reality is. So you do not judge anyone anymore, because that's how we create in the acceptance of each other's stories. Like your story is just as important as my story, is just as important, everyone that you've had on this show. Yeah, no one's a leader, no one's more important.
Yeah.
We are all gods within ourselves creating. We're just guides. We're like, for all I see is like, I'm like a canary that goes into the cave and I don't die. Yay.
I mean, it's true. And like, definitely the energetic that's just becoming so obvious is, you know, this time period for humanity is to find community, is to find your like-minded community, because thriving and generating this new earth is about coming together. It's that combination of stories. It's those stories that are going to form the architecture, you know. And so like, and I think stories to try to do this, stories without anything in front, just stories. And in order to make this new transition viable right now, it's not the time to do this alone. Like, it's not the time to be the hermit. It's not the time to be, ironically, and again, we're paralleled by the isolation and the lockdown and being at home, and the best friggin' oxymoron of the century, social distancing. But like, you actually like sit here, it's like silent scream or freshly frozen, social distancing. And you know, you take that back, but we can't do this without each other. Community is the core building block of the architecture of the new earth. Like, we need to bring those overlaying stories to create that flower of life pattern. And I totally resonate with that, and can feel, even just with the few months that Cambell and I have been working together, that like the desire out there for people to have access to people of the same ilk, of the same, that we intuitively know those petals, you know, those parts of the flower that we want to bring in and connect into. And we know that our energy vibrates higher. We know that it thrives. Cambell and I know when we are in presence of that, because we can't even remember what we've talked about. Like, we end the interview and we were like, all right, I think we talked about gnomes. I think we talked about I don't even know what we talked about. And it's, you know, you can really see the difference there, like when you're operating at that level. And I can totally resonate that we together need to be in a state of community. So I think we're going to start introducing a lot more shows about how to actually tangibly build that in this realm.
Yeah. And that's for the light workers, the people that are coming up the ranks, that are starting to wake up. They will go through their own shadow work and be hermit for a while. I mean, I've just gone through a year of being hermit and doing shadow work myself.
Well, we've all been forced
to go through all of that. And they will then, the next layer will come up and so forth. And I know within my meditations, like, I'm waking up specific people. So my light's shooting out and I'll say, okay, I'm waking up the people in prime positions that are in like the parliament and all that sort of stuff, that were their souls who'd already decided that they were going to go through the logical sense and wake up specifically at a specific time. They were needing to be woken up. The elementals are meant to be connected to their brothers and sisters that were born as human. That was really cool, because when I connected them, I asked to see mushroom rings as a to let me know that this is for real. This is what, my work has been doing, is doing something. And I went out driving. I drive for a job as well, and when I went out my work, I've never seen so many mushroom rings in all my life after I did this meditation. They were absolutely every 10 or 20 houses where there was a mushroom ring, and I do believe those mushroom rings were there because that's the porthole for the elementals to go wake up whoever is in that household that is elemental residing in human body, to bring these two together. So there have been people that look like gnomes and look like elementals and all sorts of things, and then that's because that's where they've come from, in a different reality. Yeah.
All right, so Bobbie, before we end, because it's been almost 2 hours
You're
already.
back on the Crystal City again.
I can't help. I have so many stories. I still got a million. Yeah, that's why I ended up doing 6 long videos.
Don't worry.
We get it.
Yeah, we started off just trying to do hour chats, and now we can't get them under 2 hours.
Sorry, everyone.
Shocking.
So we're on this quest.
That's what we need.
To go on a journey. We're just saying we're going on this journey to the desert. It looks like yesterday we determined we're heading to Kings Canyon. And we fuck the lockdowns and the state borders. We have no idea how all that's going to pan out. We're just going to trust that,
and we don't care.
We find a portal through. So any thoughts on any of that, like that we're feeling pulled to go and find this in the heart of Australia?
There's one thing that comes in mind. I don't know, is there like a lake or something that near where you're going?
There used to be there used to be a sea.
There used to be an inland sea, as far as we can tell, but there is water in the gorge as well.
Because I dreamt once of being shown this porthole that was near water, or was in the water, and I saw somebody go in and become into this other dimension in this water. That was really interesting. And
was it underwater? Do you know?
They went underwater, and I was trying to. It was kind of vortexing me into it. It was like going through a depth. So it was interesting though, because it was something to do with, there was crocodiles in that place, but it was called the Platypus Lake or something. Okay. Which was interesting because they won't go together, because obviously one will kill the other. But I think it was like it used to be one or the other. I have to look up that dream again. Also, when I was chosen out of the hat after having a dream of going to Uluru, and then looking online and then having my name, that I'm going to go to Uluru with David Icke. Apparently I was first pulled out of the hat. I ended up inside the mountain and speaking to her through, which was not meant to, like, I said I just wanted to really trust and honor the Indigenous people of the land. I didn't want to go in anywhere that I wasn't meant to go into, and I put that out first, but it's just circumstances ended up leading me into the mountain. And
what mountain?
Ended up Uluru herself.
Okay.
So I ended up having my forehead, and there was another guy that was with me. The story's on my story, but we ended up chanting in this. All of the new earths and potential earths that I've been shown went through me into Uluru herself, and there's portholes all around there. So she knew we were going to be waking up a lot more people. She's going to help us wake up a lot more people. If I'm really tapping into it now, like, it's not Uluru herself, but there is some other something around.
Is it the law?
North of Uluru,
Something
more north. Yeah, I don't know why I keep seeing them. I keep seeing mountains, and I'm like, there's no mountains in the desert. But I think it's because I'm tapping into the actual frequency of the actual place that you're going to end up finding.
Kings Canyon and Hart's Range, they're definitely, it appears to be
Hart's
mountains.
Range.
They're gorgeous and ridges, and they
when
look,
you're in them, that looks like there's mountains, but they're obviously
You'll see beings. You can see things like small tornadoes can be beings from the other dimensions. The Min lights are definitely beings from other dimensions. You'll start to see things like that, and don't be afraid. When they have obviously the massive tornadoes coming towards you, and then maybe
it's weird you say that.
It does bring me to the Cherokee Elder's story. When she was in America, she said that she was going to be talked to by a Metrodon or something, and a being from another plane. Metatron.
Yeah.
And that being would come as a tornado. And she said, don't be afraid, so you really have to listen to your dreams. Yeah. You really have to know,
big one for my dreams. But that's freaky, Bobbie, because
still in your mind to be able to go into anything. You cannot enter into those frequencies. I can tell you 100% they will not let you in unless your mind is completely in this love frequency, because that is the key to these frequencies. You can't enter them unless you're in that state of living in the moment and trusting. Yeah.
There are literally a whole string of freaking tornadoes going around Australia at the moment. And we've never had tornadoes here before.
Really? Because I did a premonition painting years ago. I haven't got it in my thing, but I was going to put it in there, and it has tornadoes in it. And I'm like, why would I paint tornadoes in Australia?
There's literally been like 10
flood, tornadoes, and then cracks, and then a golden gilded house, which is representing the lockdown. It's like, and it was this big sun energy, bird energy. Yeah, anyway,
that's fascinating. Honestly, the last couple of weeks across Australia, there have been tornadoes everywhere, destroying towns, which has been bizarre because we don't get tornadoes here. And I've watched the weather. I'm always watching the weather station, like the alternative one, and tornadoes massive. So excellent thing to say that they could be
also, tornadoes can represent anger pulling up in the consciousness of humanity.
Yep.
So if humanity is angry, which hello,
yeah,
then tornadoes are more likely to develop. If we're emotional and we're repressing our emotions, tidal waves are more likely to develop. Everything in elemental in the nature can be reflected as an energy projected outwards to get us out of. It's kind of like a safety thing. It sounds not like a safety net, but they're telling me it's a safety net to shift us, because otherwise we've become stagnant in the problems that we have.
What about drought? What does drought represent?
Not love, no love.
Oh, interesting.
Just no creation, no love.
No life.
Yeah, no life, no love.
Yeah.
Love
you mentioned your
creation.
your website's about oh God, what were they called again? Keys, not keys, but codes. Yeah, if you've got any code, like what should we do when we get to the place we think there's a city? Got any advice? Should we chant? Should we say something? What should we do?
Okay. So everyone who turns up, this is what, and put out that this is going to be the right, you already would have done this, put out that it's going to be the right people, the right time, and all that stuff. Whoever's there is going to have a certain frequency. This is what they're telling me. A certain frequency within their voice that will, when you chant, will open collectively portholes within your pineal gland that will, do this somatic pattern of those crystals, which will also open up so if you go in a circle and you feel resonance with the place that you're at, you can be in a circle and then start just humming umming or humming, and then trusting that frequency, and do it quite a few times. Don't just expect it to happen the first time, because you want to get into that frequency. When I did the Vision Quest and Sundance in Ohio, we went on a strict diet of no sugar, because you don't want anger to come in. So we had no sugar, no meat, very less root vegetables, which ground us into. So Vision Quest will take you more out into that.
Yeah, more airy stuff.
Yeah, so we didn't have the root vegetables. It was a really hard diet for 28 days before. But it worked. I was in the zone. I was like I've sat on fields and gone, if I'm creating my own reality, I should be able to just sit anywhere on this field and just sit there with my eyes closed and pick a blade of grass, and it will be a 4-leaf clover. And I've done that. So you're creating your reality as well as your reality is coming to you. It's inside and outside at the same time.
Yeah, the Taurus, yeah. So Kel and I were talking before we started today about, obviously everyone wants land and we're all trying to get all this stuff, but a lot of us are in the position where we don't have the physical funds, shall we say, to get things done. And so we thought, well, bugger it, we'll just manifest it. Got any tips for us there? How do we do that? We only want like 20 million.
The more you stay in this high frequency, it always takes a bit of time when you're actually working, because there's patience involved. When you're working with the nature of things and divine timing, you're allowing everybody else to go with you. So just don't be too upset when things don't happen, because it's your logical mind that says it has to happen at a specific time. So allow it to come to you. It will come to you, because Earth itself is feeling the vibration of the new frequencies of us, and she wants to gift you what the shadow work that you've done and all the work that you've done, because it just works that way. Your abundance outside yourself will always support.
So shall you receive. Yeah.
How much you support yourself. So you need to be saying, I support who I am and I love who I am, and then that abundance will naturally flow to you. I mean,
well, this shadow work as well, I hear it, it's everywhere at the moment. What does that mean? Is that just dropping the crap? Is that what we're talking about? Just dropping your shit and not
self-love, man. It's like getting into self-love. It's hard.
It's going inside and seeing where all the parts of you that you thought were you, but were really programs. And if you're, and that's all the stuff like guilt, shame, blame.
See, I don't have a lot of that. I'm trying to find stuff. I'm like, there should be bad stuff in there.
You don't have to have a lot of it, Cambell. You have been on this path for a long time. You don't. It's not like a massive event has to happen. And I went through a massive event. I went through a very traumatic event. It brought everything up: abandonment, betrayal, loss,
But with females, and the females went through a quite repressed life, where
speaking
the males
truth
are more to do with, I suppose, the ego. I must have
cream white pizza, man. Yeah, I've got it all.
I mean, like when you basically, it's very hard for women definitely. I mean, I'm not going to speak on behalf of you, Cambell, and you're kind, but most women can't even leave the house without makeup on. They're so we're so image conscious. We've been programmed into that. So feelings of lack of love,
it's all lack.
It's all stuff that loving ourselves as we are. But then when you love yourself and you get rid of what you just said, you might say, oh, now I want to put on makeup, but not because I feel like I need to, because I just want to. This is who I feel I am.
I watched my mother, and she wore makeup her whole life, and then she became a grey nomad. this like radical thing for my mum to do, which is just like, you know, retire and buy a caravan and go around Australia. It's like 5 million of them out there on the road. They're basically single-handedly saving inland Australia just by spending $10 in every little village. Go the Great Nomads. But yeah, like that was the first time ever my mother didn't wear makeup, and she like had to go through this whole process. Like it was just this whole big fucking process of letting that go. And because she just like couldn't, like seeing her face free of makeup was like a major emotional purge of this idea of what she was and had to look and how people saw her, and like right down to everyone's single story, you know, like when I went through my trauma of the last 5 years, which has still got tail ends to go, you know, I felt very unconfident within myself. Not my confidence, not my truth. I was very destabilized by issues with like loyalty issues and betrayal. Betrayal was a big one for me. That came up a lot. And you know, like you go through so much stuff and out of
then
it
you find out you're betraying yourself.
Yep.
You weren't loyal to yourself.
Yeah. Then it's got to all go back in onto you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's the self-support that I'm talking about, and the purging is starting to realize how much you're supporting yourself completely. And financially is more to do with the abundance of trusting that the universe will always give you what you deserve, because we've been programmed out of that to think that the only way to do it is to work hard, work hard, work hard. And that's not how the natural program works. The natural program will always give you what you need in the moment that you need it, and then you let it go. So you're not carrying this burden on your back of feeling like you need to collect everything and hoard everything. That's the old program. This is more stepping into when the money will come when I need it. It will come when I need it, and trusting that right up to the last minute. And having that still mind. And I've done this before where I've literally bought tickets for my daughter when I was years ago to come to Australia. Before I bought my own tickets, I had no money left. And then 2 days before I was meant to travel, I had $2,000 gifted to me, you know, out of the blue. And it just would never, and they didn't, that was just totally
synchronicity.
Totally you know?
Rumpy used to always say that.
Yeah, trusting that it will happen for you in the right time.
And that's the big problem, isn't it?
You weren't supposed to go. If it doesn't, you weren't supposed to do that. And then you have to look inside yourself and say, how much did I invest in the fact that I was supposed to be there, and I'm this and I'm that, and you know.
And so that's a massive thing. I think if we take the approach of life of always bringing it back to us, we don't take on the crap. And I think that's maybe why I haven't taken, like, I've always been a looker, and I just always, when people, you know, are stupid or mean or whatever, I'm just always like, why are they acting like that? I don't know, like, I don't get offended. I'm trying to work out why they're acting strange.
Why they're acting like that. That's cool.
So maybe, I think that it's a whole different way to look at it. Yeah, exactly. Be in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas like when I was in year 1, my best friend told me she didn't want me my best friend anymore in year 1. I mean, she didn't tell me why. And then suddenly I just had like the worst day of my life. And then I integrated that into my little being without any resolution. And so that moment just then in year 1, like triggered like a series of personality developments in my reality about betrayal. And with no explanation, you know, so that's like what that's shadow work.
And that's the logical mind doing that repeated story throughout your whole life.
Exactly.
And blowing it up even bigger as you go. I had the same thing of going on a merry-go-round when I was a kid, and my parents, it was dark, and my parents took off to find my little brother or sister or something, and they weren't there, and then it stopped. And I had no money for the next ride, but I couldn't get off the horse. And then I'm like, I need to get money. And all of a sudden, all my life, where's the money? Where's the support? Well, and then I turned it all around and changed it in my mind. And when, you know what, I'm always going to have a backup. I'm always going to have money. There's always going to be support. And it just started changing. As people started giving me things, actually, because I started seeing myself as a little rebel boy instead of being the scared little girl victim that I was. I saw myself on that merry-go-round as, yay, free ride. So I started getting free rides. People started giving me things. Yeah, it was really interesting how you can shift your reality on the inside and it's reflected outside, comes back in.
Yeah. And plus, like when we look at manifestation today, this is what I was going to say about Ramtha. He always used to say, you know, like, don't ask for money. Don't ask for money because it's meaningless. Like, don't, you know, what is it you want to spend the money on? What do you need the money for?
Yeah.
You know, like, this is a really important one. Like, what do you need? You want to build an intentional community. Can you see that community? Can you see what all that? Can you see the land? Can you see the buildings coming? Like, that is what you focus on. Not because the money is just how your limited brain has thought to yourself, this is how I can achieve that. So but we're not focusing on the house.
Yeah.
We got to get rid of the house.
One way, then, if you say, I need the money to do this, that's one limited way. That's a logical way of thinking. Where intuition and imagination is
infinite,
vast ways of something coming to you and being gifted to you. Maybe, like, I don't know what you guys when you guys are actually going, but I'm almost keen to come with you.
You should, definitely. We're going to be there for the solstice in December. So if you feel that you should be there, then you definitely should be there.
Yeah, that would be fun.
We just over the last like couple of weeks and over the next, I guess, 2 weeks, we're getting very close now.
You're gonna say,
we've just been asking people their input, like what they're tuning into, what they're getting, and just drawing sort of like a little map. And eventually we'll just like name a meeting point location, and whoever turns up. And from there we do whatever happens.
See what happens.
Just because like fucking let's be Indiana Jones. Let's get out there and let's get into our imagination, get a hit of vitamin D after all this lockdown nonsense, and you know, just connect to this like leading edge community. Because I tell you,
there was a place that we went to before we went to Uluru. It was on the way between Alice Springs and Uluru, and it was like an auditorium that was naturally made. And I stood in the middle and went, oh, my God, the energy here is incredible.
Where's my pen?
And I remember thinking, if you hummed here, because it was kind of like these natural seats that came out. And I think they used to use that. The Aboriginals used to use that as a gathering place. Wow. If you hummed in the middle of that, I don't know. I really felt like something would open up.
Okay.
Just remember look into that one too.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to just like, I mean, you know, this is the time when one should step into these adventures, you know, like, and actually like do them, like get out and have an adventure and make stuff up and, you know, participate with everyone who wants to involve yourself in the adventure and see what happens.
Imagine if everyone did, if the government went, all right, lockdown, everyone went, bugger you, we're going off on a quest. And everyone left the cities and was running, you know, what could they do, right?
The quest exemption.
The new Earth
quest exemption.
I'm getting one. I want a quest exemption.
We should release it.
Have you had your apple juice? I'm on a quest.
Yeah. With a tick from God.
Yeah.
I think we should do that. I think we should make up a fake quest exemption form.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Crystal City research vehicle.
All right. Well, look, Bobbie, you amazing creature from the unknown realms. Wherever you come from, no one knows.
It's in higher dimensions.
I think we should probably wrap it up now because, as usual, we've gone way over. And if people are still watching us, well fucking done.
Again.
I always say this, because like this community, one thing that's so high resonated of them is they're so fucking smart. They're so smart because they've deprogrammed themselves. So all of this information at this level just like integrates into like their psyche. It's just the coolest community ever. So is there anything you'd like to say to the Tartarian hunters before we sign off for the day?
Only a promotional thing.
Yes,
Go for it.
Go for it.
I just created new fortune dice. It's part of a new Earth production thing. So these are my fortune dice.
Like rolling dice, like for fortune.
Yeah,
mean?
like I actually got my own artwork on it and everything, and the Arcturians and that channeled through information for me to get people just to have fun with their right brain and their intuitive skills and stuff. So it's got all this like beautiful artwork and stuff.
We need some of these for the quest.
Yeah.
You know, on it. And so you roll them, and there's
Like
also
tarot,
a 0 to 9 dice, all based on numerology, but also going into new frequencies.
So show us the box. So you've got how many
and then
dice?
You've got a little book that tells you everything about it and that sort of stuff. So
how many dice are in the box?
you've got one 0 to 9 dice, and then two of these, which are totally different. So this got 22. This one's 22 to 23, 33, 11. Because this only goes up to number 9. So if it falls on the 0, then you throw these. Anyway,
that's cool. So wait, so don't just demonstrate them now. So how would you use them? Go on, because no one's ever brought out dice before.
Super quick one.
Yeah, this is all. Okay, so if I throw the dice, but no one's going to see it because
that's all right. You can talk us through it.
So 4. So you throw it 3 times. 4, 5, and 9. So 4 in the book means the foundation, something is founding itself, and 5 is a journey and going on a quest, and 9 is for humanity.
Yay!
All right.
So, but if it had fallen on a 0, then you throw these 2 dice, and that's a totally different story. But anyway, there you go.
And how much are they, and how do people buy them? That's fun.
I've just done it so that the shipping is included in for everybody all over the world. So I've made them a little bit on the pricey side at $35. But I just wanted everyone to just have one. It's just easier for me to sell it for one big thing. But these are all handmade. Like I spent hours putting the box together, putting the books together. Everything's handmade. So when it's going to be done
it's totally covered in your DNA energy. It's totally saturated in Bobbie Richardson. I love that. So if you want Bobbie Richardson in your home, you need to order your dice.
Yeah, and the next box that's coming out is going to be on telekinesis. So I'm going to get something to help people with it, because I've got a little video of me moving something with my mind anyway on YouTube. So I wanted people to get into that sort of stuff as well. It's all to do with this new frequency.
I love it. And this is such a great example for the community to see how creative you can be and innovative in bringing forth new tools and new creations that are going to be of service in this new earth as we cross over. So very cool.
And I have 2 books that are children's books as well that are created for the imagination to spark, and they're really beautiful books. So
we need those. Tartaria hunter need those. A lot of people are very rusty with their imagination as adults. Very rusty. Definitely
Sorry, had to get that
out. Awesome. I love it.
So we'll leave links below to your channel and your website so people can go and check it all out. And there's also the activation code. So go on, activate yourself, guys.
Well, Bobbie, it's been an absolute pleasure. We had no idea what we'd end up covering this show. I have no memory of what we actually did cover. There's a lot in there for everyone. Once again, but thank you so much for joining us and finding us, and gosh, come out on the quest of the desert. I feel like we need you as part of this journey. I think it's you are a walking portal.
You can sit on the bonnet and point that way.
It's so funny because we were lost once, and I said to the person who was driving, they're telling me to follow the sign, and we turned a corner and it said, go this way. And we ended up finding the place. Go further.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Bobbie, so much. And you just have the best day ever. And thank you for connecting in and sharing your knowledge with our audience. And putting your hand up to come and join us on the podcast. We really appreciate it. And for anyone in our audience who feels pulled towards Bobbie and working with her more deeply, just make contact with her via her website and the links we share below. You'll know it if you are meant to be in sort of a deeper relationship. Then hit the links. And thank you once again, Bobbie, for joining us here at Tartaria, Australia. The show about Tartaria that just goes all over the realm and all dimensions, Cambell.
We're going to have to do a show and actually talk about Tartaria one of these days.
We get back to the mudflood and buildings. I know. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day, and we will see you next time on Tartaria, Australia.
Thanks all.
Yeah.